Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Ali, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to design the worst music sound waves inside CreateStudio 3. Well, that's just a joke. It's actually going to be one of the beautiful music sound waves that you can design inside the software, and all you need is just a standard license to be able to create all of this. And I wanted you to know that a lot of people have been asking for this in terms of how to design music sound waves, and they were all asked to find or search the internet and try and find similar designs out there, or maybe just use the integrations inside the software. But guess what? Now you can create all of this inside CreateStudio 3. And so before we dive deeper into this, I'm going to show you an example. Hope you like it. Let's go ahead and watch it and come back to start creating. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Now let's go ahead and have fun creating. And by the way, this is going to be a customizable design, which means you can custom design it however you like in terms of changing its colors, changing the size of it. You can create as many sound waves, lines as you want to fit your design or the project that you're working on. So without further ado, let's start diving into it and start creating. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we need to grab a rectangle shape, and I'm going to hit the shift key and the letter R to grab a rectangle. Then I'm going to scale it down to make it a vertical line, just like this. And then there are 4 dots around the corners that we can grab to make it fully rounded, just like that. And then we can adjust the size of it and make it smaller like this. And then we can grab it to the left side of the screen right here. And then we're going to need another one. So we're going to make a duplicate of it. And then we're going to drag this one a little up right here. So there's got to be duplicates, right? Both of them are going to be exactly in the same position. The only difference is that the one on top of the other rectangle is going to be a little bit up. As you can see, if you want to see better, I'm going to change that color a little bit to make a difference. And then now you can tell the difference between the first one and the second one. And I'm going to tell you the reason why we're doing that. So once we've done that, what we need to do is simply click on the first rectangle and then go to the motion tab on the right panel. Click that, and then we're going to add loop animation. By the way, this whole thing is going to last for 5 seconds, but feel free to extend it to however long you want. It's really up to you, but you got to keep in mind when you're extending it, you have to play around with the timings as far as the speed and the number of loops of animations that we're going to add. So let's go back and keep creating. Again, this is our first rectangle. I selected it and I went to the motion tab, and then I'm going to click on the loop tab, and then I'm going to use position, and that would be swing on the y-axis. I'm going to select that, and then as you can see, the panel that shows up on the top right, it's got movement and then number of loops. This is where we can control the position animation as well as the number of loops. So as far as the movement, we're going to change the value from 500% to 30% like this. And then the number of loops is going to be 8. So we're going to hit the number 8 and then change that to number 8. And then next up, you're going to notice that we now have the loop animation applied to the upper rectangle in the timeline. All we need to do now is to extend that all the way until the end. So now when I go ahead and push play, you're going to see that it goes up and down just like that. The next thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to the second rectangle, which is beneath the first one, and then we need to make some adjustments. So I'm going to copy the same animation. So I'm going to click on the first rectangle to copy it. So Control C to copy it, click on the second rectangle, and then Control V to paste it. But this one is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to keep selecting the button to open up the preset settings panel, and then we're going to change the movement from 30% to negative 30%, so that it goes into the opposite direction. And as far as the number of loops is going to be the same. Now, once we have that up, you can see both are just going in the opposite direction, up and down, really nice and cool. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Next, we're going to go back and change the color of the first one. So we're going to open up the color settings, use the color picker to change it to the first one, so they're both exactly the same. Now we have a taller rounded rectangle. Once I press play, you're going to see now this is how it plays nicely and easy. And then from there, we can dive deeper into creating the rest of the sound waves that we'd like to do. So in order to apply that, here's what we want to do. We're going to save our time by selecting both layers in the timeline. And then we're going to hit the Control D to make a duplicate, or you can do Command D to make a duplicate. And then simply just grab these guys above the two designs that we created in the first place. Just got to make sure that these go. All right, let's go ahead and select them, and then we're going to drag them like this and make sure that they are lined up exactly in the timeline. Now we have two new ones. So we're going to select them again, and then we're going to use our keyboard to drag these guys to the right side, right next to the first one that we created right there. And we're going to make it a little bit taller. So we're going to hold the Alt key along with our mouse, hold lift click, and then to drag to make this a little bit taller like that. You're going to notice that the width of the rectangle is changing as well. That's pretty obvious because we're changing the size of the whole thing together, but that's fine. We can easily go back and then adjust the thickness of the rectangle to make it similar to the first one that we created right there. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make changes to the second design that we created. So we're going to keep everything as far as movement is going to be 30% and negative 30%. The only difference is going to be the number of loops. So we're going to change the number of loops on the second one right here from 8 to 9 loops. And then we'll click on the swing Y on the one above to open the panel again, change the number of loops from 8 to 9. And then we can go back and then press play. And this is how it's going to look like. Next, we need to make another duplicate. So we're going to select those guys again. All right. And we're going to hit the Control D to make a duplicate and do the same thing. We're going to grab these guys and make them above like that. I don't know for what reason they seem to go right next to the ones, but I'm not sure. So we're going to grab them again and make sure that they start from the very beginning. Hit the Control Delete to delete all the empty tracks. And then from there, we will use our keyboard again to hold the Shift key and the right arrow key to drag these guys right next to the second one that we created. And we're going to hold the Alt key on the keyboard and then make these guys a little bit taller, just like that. And then we can also adjust the thickness of it to make sure they're all, lined up. You may want to use guidelines if you want to, just to make sure that everything is exactly in the same size. You can easily do that when you look on the right side of the screen above the timeline. You can either use the ruler to add individual guidelines, or you can click on the 4 squares right here to open up the grid menu. And then you can turn on the snap to grids like that. And then you can have a full grid lines, allowing you or enabling you to adjust the positioning and the size of everything if you want to be, if you're trying to be to perfect things on your canvas. But for me, I'm just going to, keep using it the way I'm doing it without the guidelines. And then, it's up to you how you want to do it. So once you're done with that, again, we're going to make changes to the first one right here. We're going to click on the swing Y and we'll change the number of loops from 9 to 10. And then we're going to select the second one as well to go back into the number of loops and change it to 10 right there. We will press play and show you what that looks like. There you go, looking pretty good so far. Everything is fine. Now we can go back and then make adjustments again. So we're going to select both of these guys one more time. And then we're going to make a duplicate. So we're going to hit Control D to make a duplicate and drag these guys to the right side just like this. And then we're going to make these guys smaller in size, just like that. and grab them a little bit closer. Then we can adjust the thickness one more time to make sure they're pretty lined up. And then we don't want to forget to, let's just right click and click add track above. One more time, add track above. Hopefully this will save it. So let's just see about that. Selecting both rectangles as far as the latest designs that we created. I'm going to try to drag them above. Yep. Okay. Seems working fine. Now we can go ahead and select the swing Y on the fourth one, change the number of loops from 10 to 11, and then go ahead and click on the final one right there and change the number of loops from 10 to 11, and then have a play. Let's take a look. There you go. Now we can see the difference between all four. There's only one more that we need to create, and then we're done with this design. So again, I'm going to select both on the canvas by highlighting the two rectangles right there. I'm going to hit the Control D to make a duplicate and simply drag these guys right next to the fourth one right there. And then I'm going to drag these guys above the timeline. Let's select them, and then we're going to drag them above the timeline. Again, they do the same thing by going to the right next to it for some reason. Let's just bring them back again right there, and then we can hit the Control Delete to delete the emptiness, so empty tracks, and simply click on the swing Y for the last one. Change the number of loops from 11 to 12. Same thing for the one beneath it. We will change the number of loops to 12 right there, and then we are good to go. So if we go back, press play, this is what it's going to look like. So once you've got that covered, now we want to apply the color rotation or the hue color rotation effect to give this a nice, cool design and make it more colorful rather than just using a single color, right? So all we have to do is simply go to the Effects and Components tab, and then we're going to scroll down until we see Hue Rotation. So Hue Rotation will grab that and drop it onto all of the layers. So we're going to have to drag this and drop it on all of the layers one by one. Unfortunately, you have to do it one by one. Okay, so we're going to have to keep dragging right there. So yes, you got to do it one by one because that's how it works. If you want to save your time, you can just apply this on one of them, and then you can easily, keep duplicating, and it will still have the same effect since you're just making duplicates. But I'm just going to keep adding the hue rotation on all of them right there. And then I'm going to go back to the first one right here. Then I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to go to the right panel where it says the effect tab. Click that. And then now we see the hue rotation applied. We're going to click that. And then now I see the rotation angle is 0 degrees. So I'm going to set this to 360 degrees, and then I'm going to turn on the in and out animation to toggle both on, and then now you can see the hue in and then hue out on the first layer. All we got to do is simply adjust this. So we're going to drag this and extend the hue in animation for 2.5 seconds. We're going to grab the out hue or hue out to the left side to make sure they're both lined up, and then do the same thing for the other one. So we're going to keep selecting each one of those and then go back to the effects tab to turn on the turn on in and out, and then switch the change the rotation angle from 0 to 360, and then do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing that until I finish my design. I'm actually going to speed up the process, but you should know exactly what you are supposed to do. Make sure all the layers are pretty lined up as far as animations and speed. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up and then come back to you when it's fully done. All right, now that we are done with designing and adding the hue rotation in and out for all the layers, this is how it's going to look like once we press play. Now we see a more colorful sound waves that looks pretty well, and this is just so awesome. After designing this whole thing, what you want to do is select all the layers by hitting the Control or Command A to select all the layers, and then I'm going to hit the Control G to group them up all together, just like this. And then I'm going to make a duplicate of these guys. So I'm going to select the whole group, and then I'm going to make another duplicate like that. Then I'm going to drag this one right onto the right side of the screen, just like this. I'm going to select it from one of the corners and then rotate it 360, just like this. Actually, I'm sorry, it's going to be 180 degrees, not 360. And then once we press play, this is how it's going to look like. And by the way, you don't have to start with the blue color, but you can change the starting color to however color you want. You can easily do that once you've grouped all this up. You can change the colors of all the shapes at the same time. So in order for you to do that, here's a tip I'm going to share with you, in that once you select your group, you want to look at the right panel above the timeline. You're going to see a cog wheel. Just press that, and then you're going to go into the easy edit properties. All you want to do now is you want to tick all of those shapes or rounded rectangles. That basically connects all the shapes together, allowing you to make changes to all the layers all at the same time once you've connected all the layers like this. And once you're done, you just click outside the window, and now we have all the colors selected. We'll go back under the second one, click the cogwheel again, and then I'm connect the layers for this one right there by toggling each one to connect all my layers right like this. And then once I'm done, you can now see that I'm only seeing one layer under settings. So if I go and click on the color settings button to open that up, say I want to start with red. So I'm going to do that and drag this here. And this is going to start with red. It's the same thing for the other one. I'm going to select it, open the color settings, and I'm going to drag the circle to the left side and stay with the red color, and that way we start with a red color like this. And then now once we press play, this is how it's going to look like, and it's going to rotate on the different colors until the end of the length of your animation. Now it is time for us to create our logo. So if that's something you're interested in, just keep watching, because you're going to have fun doing that. So this is what we want to do, and hit the shift key and the letter C to grab a circle. Then I'm going to position this circle and make sure it is centered and lined up with those shapes right here, like this. And then I'm going to make a duplicate that one. So first of all, I'm going to change this color to red, like that, right here. And then I'm going to make a duplicate of it. So right there, and then the layer on the top will remain black, but it's just the one underneath it will be red. So all I need to do now is go under settings to scale the circle shape underneath. And so I'm going to scale this up, or I can do it from the canvas if I want to. Now that I have the editor, I can hold the Alt key and then make this a little bit bigger like this. And in order to adjust it and make it look like a color effect, we're going to add the blur effect onto the red circle right here. And then I'm going to adjust the strength from 10 all the way to 1000, right? And then I'm going to keep it that way. So now once I press play, this is how it's going to look like. The only thing that's left to do is adding some animations to the blurred color that we added, and then that one as well. So I'm going to select the red circle, which I blurred, and then I'm going to add the hue rotation to it as well, right there, to make it change the colors and line up with the music waves. And so once I've done that, I'm going to go and do the same thing from the settings of the hue rotation. I'm going to change the angle from 0 to 360, same thing. I'm going to toggle on the in and out animation right here. And then I need to make sure that I extend the hue in for 2.5 seconds and grab the hue out for 2.5 seconds right there. Now, once I press play, you'll notice that colors are changing in line, and it looks perfect just the way it is. Next, we want to add a loop animation to the final black circle that we got. So we're going to select it, and I'm going to go to motion, and then I'm going to go to loop, and I'll click on scale. Then I'm going to let's do out, and let's go in and out. So I'm going to select in and out, and then I'm going to change the value of the zoom percentage from 10% to let's do 3%. And I'll change the number of loops from 1 to 6 loops. And then all I need to do is extend the loop animation all the way until the end right there. And then I can press play. Now we have a nice logo animation as well as the music waves. Now, all I need to do is to go back into my media folder, global folder actually, where my logo is at, or CS logo, whatever logo you want to use, it's really up to you. I'm just going to grab my own logo right here, and then I'm going to adjust its size and make sure it is centered on that circle, just like that. And there you go. Now, once I created all of this, I can select them all by clicking on the Control A to click or select all the layers. Control G again to group all this up. And now I have completed my design. And you can see how beautiful that is, playing really nicely inside CreateStudio 3. And again, all you need is just the standard license to be able to create all of this. So if you're watching this tutorial and you don't have CreateStudio yet, now is the time for you to purchase it, and you can find my affiliate link in the description below. And if you like this video, be sure to like, share, and comment. Let me know what you're thinking. And also share it with others so that you can see the beauty of CreateStudio and what you can really do with it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.